जय गोपी चित चोर प्रभु जय जय माखन चोर जय जय माखन चोर। श्री कृष्ण चंद्र भगवान की, जगत गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की। उपस्थित
Hare Krishna, please accept my humble obeisances. I welcome with my whole heart all the senior Vaishnavas of International Society for Krishna Consciousness. I also welcome all the devotees who very regularly join us online on Zoom, YouTube, and Facebook. I also welcome all the viewers who have assembled here on the 6th day's Katha of the 329th Bhagvatam Katha, sponsored by Parmar family from Canada. In particular, I extend my warm gratitude and heartfelt thanks to Parmar family from Canada, Suresh Parmar Bhai, Jayashri Parmar. So once again, I welcome each one of you to the 6th day Katha of 329th Shrimad Bhagavatam Katha. Hare Krishna. Kindly accept my humble obeisances at your lotus feet. Radhe Shyam.
किसी भी व्यक्ति की पहचान,
you know that the identity of any individual is known and assessed by his uniqueness, by his speciality, or certain elements of excellence that he might possess. For example, if we were to talk about Sri Sukdev Goswami, and if someone was to address that the narrator of Bhagvatam to Parikshit Maharaj, then automatically we understand, we get to know that it is Shukdev Maharaj. So the identity of an individual is by his speciality. The identity of an individual is by his uniqueness. The question which is raised in the spiritual circle is how Vrindavan is. So Vrindavan is identified as, in Bangla language, that Vrindavan is the land where, how Vrindavan is. This question is usually answered in Bangla language, something like this. A land where there is ecstatic sound of flute, that land is Vrindavan. Vrindavan is known by the sweet melody of flute. Further, if the question was who is Krishna, if the question is how do we define and identify Krishna, then the answer would be, the answer to this question, you see, is not being answered by somebody who's a Brijwasi or who has been living in Vrindavan since his childhood ages. We have this saint Madhusudan Saraswati. This Madhusudan Saraswati who went on to adopt Advaitwad, and he went on to propagate Advaitwad. Interestingly, This Advaitavad is absolutely entirely opposite to the concept of Sri Krishna. Such Madhusudan Saraswati, who was the follower of Advait, now, for example, even Shankaracharya, who was a Mayavadi, who propagated Mayavad, but even such Madhusudan Saraswati, when he arrived in Vrindavan, and after having arrived in Vrindavan, when he realized the presence of Sri Krishna, when he got to understand the elementary knowledge, the mood of Sri Krishna, he undergoes an immense transformation. So when he was asked, what is the highest element in the understanding of Madhusudanji? Now, interestingly, even though Madhusudanji was a Advaitvadi, but he got smeared in Krishna's devotion. And when he was asked this question, what is that highest element? Madhusudan Saraswati goes on to answer in the form of this shloka, which is there on the top right hand side of your screens, which goes something like this.
बफलदरोष्ठा पूर्णेन्दु सुंदर मुखा दरविंद नेत्रा कृष्णात् परं किमपि तत्व अहं न जाने। श्री मधुसूदन सरस्वती ने कहा,
So Shri Madhusudan Saraswati went to say,
कृष्णात् परम तत्व, कृष्णात् कृष्ण से परम, कृष्ण से बड़ा तत्व, कृष्ण से कोई ऊंचा तत्व अहम न जाने।
there is no element beyond Krishna that I know. This was the answer of Shri Madhusudan Saraswati. That means if there is any element which is the utmost element, it is the element of Shri Krishna.
जैसा मुझे हो रहा है वैसे आप सबको हो रहा है स्क्रीन पे?
जी प्रभु जी ये
हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. So there is some technical error for the time being. So Shri Madhusudan Saraswati went on to answer that there is no element beyond Shri Krishna that I know of. So what is he trying to say? That there is no element I know which is over and above Shri Krishna. So if we were to answer that, what is that utmost element? There is some technical error again. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. So that utmost element, that highest element. So Madhusudan Saraswati, where does he start from? The first word, the initial word that he begins with, when he goes on to describe the element of Shri Krishna, and the first term that he uses is Vanshi, that is flute. So just as Shri Sukdev Maharaj is known by his Katha, Vedvyasji is known by his compilation and composition of the Vedic literature. Similarly, in the similar tone, the identity of Sri Krishna is by his flute, is by his Vanshi. Now, what does this mean? This means that when Sri Krishna is to be introduced, he is introduced by his flute first of all. That utmost element of Sri Krishna is one. who is adorned with the flute, who is decorated with flute, the one who holds flute in his hands. So this is there something in the first line. Vanshi Vibhushit Karan, the one who holds the flute, the one who is decorated with Vanshi is Sri Krishna. And then it goes Navneed Dabhat, whose body is just like soft water, who carries yellow clothes, costumes on his body, whose lips are just like the red fruit, and just like the full moon, whose face is emanating wonderful attraction. And I do not know any other element beyond this Sri Krishna. So this is the introduction given by Sri Madhusudan Saraswati about Sri Krishna. And Madhusudan Saraswati began off the introduction of Sri Krishna with the flute. So the flute, as per the different acharyas, are of 6 types. So the flute that have been mentioned by different acharyas is of 6 types. So Sripad Vishnu Acharya went on to give 6 flute. The one which talks about is the first one being Venu, second one is Murli, which is 2 feet long and which has 6 holes in it, plus means 12 plus 4, that is 16. Third one is flute, but which has 9 holes and 17 feet long. And the fourth one is Samohini flute. So this is longer than the Vanshi. And this Samohini Mahananda is adorned with beautiful jewels. It is studded with diamonds and gems. The fifth flute is called as Akruti, and this flute is longer than Samohini and Mahananda, and it is completely made of gold. And the sixth type of flute is called as Andinini or Vanshulini. This flute, Anandini, is meant for Brij Gop particularly. This is definitely liked by the Brij Gopas. So Sri Krishna, standing in Tribang position, plays the flute, or as he runs and he dances and he plays his flute. Sri Krishna knows all the forms of art, but most of the time he plays 8 types of tunes, 8 melodies in his flute. So the 8 melodies usually particularly are played by Sri Krishna through his flute. So there are 8 melodies that he plays in his flute. The first melody, so the first melody that he plays, the first melody of Sri Krishna's flute goes on to break the meditation of Brahma and Lord Shiva. Even Anantashesh in Patal Lok also goes on to move his head in ecstasy. So what does this mean? If Sri Krishna was to bring about the destruction of the entire earth, then the only thing that he needs to do is to play his first melody. And see, this is so much in contrast to Lord Shiva, who would have to dance stand up in order to bring about this destruction. So this was first melody. Now what happens when he plays the second melody? The second melody, played by Sri Krishna on his flute, goes on to reverse the direction of the flow of river Yamuna. Imagine, just you must imagine what could have been the effect of this melody, second melody of Sri Krishna, that Yamuna goes on to reverse its direction of the waters. So yesterday we talked about that flute goes on to takes us to our destiny, to our original element. The third melody played by Sri Krishna, the third melody played by Sri Krishna goes on to make moon and the sun stationary. The sun and the moon become motionless with the third melody of Sri Krishna. The fourth melody played by Sri Krishna, the fourth melody played by Sri Krishna is particularly meant for the cows. As he plays the fourth melody, all the cows start running towards Sri Krishna. You see, I feel so helpless to describe the melodies of Sri Krishna's flute. The melody of Sri Krishna's flute goes on to develop immense love and affection in the heart of Gaumata, and without even milking, Gaumata starts emanating milk from her body. You see, in Braj, there is a belief that just in case, if a old woman so the saying goes like this in Braj, that if there is an old woman who is not able to do anything, who is not even able to milk the cow, she would go on to call Sri Krishna to her home and ask Sri Krishna to play the flute, and would keep a beaker under the cow, because the cow would be milking itself by her own as she would listen to the melody of Sri Krishna's flute. Even to this day, it is believed that with the melody of Sri Krishna's flute, you see, the cow goes on to eat properly and offer milk also properly. Unfortunately, these days, people do not go on to offer Venu to the cow to get milk. Rather, they put huge injections on Gaumata, which gives immense pain to her to increase production of milk. But this is very, very unfortunate. Anyhow, the fourth melody goes on to attract all the Govanshis towards Sri Krishna. The fifth melody of the flute of Sri Krishna is meant for the gopis. With this sound, with this melody, Sri Krishna goes on to attract the gopis. This melody is heard only by the gopis. The moment gopis get on to hear this melody, they come running towards Sri Krishna. The sixth melody of Sri Krishna's flute goes on to melt even the rocks and the stones. The sixth melody is so powerful that it can liquidify even the most solid of the rocks. And you see, the sixth melody goes on to become a season of the shedding of the leaves. The seventh melody of Sri Krishna's flute has the power to produce all the seasons all together in one go. And the most elevated melody is the melody of Sri Krishna's flute, which is absolutely meant for Srimati Radha Rani. For Srimati Radha Rani, there is a specific melody played by Sri Krishna on his flute. As Sri Krishna plays this melody and the sound the melody reaches Srimati Radharani. Srimati Radharani comes running towards Sri Krishna. Srimati Radharani comes running all together in a strong rage of haste and hurry. Shrimad Bhagavatam says that with this melody, Radharani loses all her senses. She wears the jewelry of her hands into her feet, the jewelry of nose into her ears, meaning to say that she loses all her calm, and the only thing that she knows is to run towards Sri Krishna. The point to be noted is the particular melodies played by Sri Krishna can only be heard by his particular audience and targeted audience and nobody else. So if Sri Krishna is playing a melody for Radharani, it could be heard only by Radharani. If he's playing the melody for cows, it could be heard only by the guys. Otherwise, imagine on the night of Sharad Purnima, when Sri Krishna played his flute, the melody could only be heard by the gopis. Was there any gopa who had come to Sri Krishna? And the answer is no, because that melody was not heard by anybody else but only the gopis. The fact is, this melody was being played by Sri Krishna only for the gopis. So the element that we must understand is only the person who is targeted by Sri Krishna, that person alone can hear the melody of Sri Krishna's flute. Yesterday, we were attempting to understand that there are many incarnations of the flute of Sri Krishna. Just as the Lord goes on to incarnate himself, similarly, the flute also has its incarnations. Yesterday, we saw how Devi Saraswati actually is the incarnation of flute. Now, there are two stories related to Sri Krishna. So, one story goes on to say something like this, because there can be a question that who offered first flute to Sri Krishna. As Lord Krishna appeared on this earth, you see, all the demigods went on to appear in Vrij with beautiful presents and offer their prayers to Sri Krishna. At that time, you see, Mahadev realized that all these demigods are going to have darshans of Sri Krishna, so must I go. Sri Mahadev contemplated that if these demigods are going along with certain presents, then so should I. With this thought, Lord Shiva got into the mood of contemplation. What is the gift that I must offer to Sri Krishna? And it is at this point of time he recalled Rishi Dadichi. Rishi Dadichi used to stay in Naimisharanya, and in the heavens, you see, there was this enemy Vrittasur, the enemy to Indra. Now, Lord Indra took the shelter of Sri Shiv, and Sri Shiv went to, and upon the counseling of Lord Shiva, Indra went to Rishi Dadichi, Saint Dadichi. Indra was offered a boon by Rishi Dadichi, to which Indra asked that must you leave your life and offer us your bones so that we can kill the demon Vrittasur.
हे कुहाड़े जेना अंगड़ा का प्यान हे कुहाड़े जेना अंगड़ा का प्या त्यारे मड़ा भगवान मेरा मन माजा न मुके अने छेलैयो सतना चुके हूँ भागू तो मारी બોમ કા લાજે ને ભોરિંગ ના જીલ ઘાર મેરું સરીખા ડોલવા લાગે ને આકાશ ના યાધાર મેરા મણ માજા ન મૂકે અને ચેલૈયો સતના ચૂકે. आप लोग सोचेंगे कि इनका गला बैठ गया फिर भी इतना खींच खींच के गा रहा है. પણ તમને એક વાત કહું, જ્યારે કોઈ દાન કરતો હોય, જ્યારે કોઈ સેવા કરતો હોય, ત્યારે મારું આમ હૃદય ફાટી જતું હોય. મને અદ્ભુત એક આનંદનો
You
અહેસાસ.
must be wondering, I have a bad throat still. I'm attempting to sing. Because you see, when I see so many people serving Lord Krishna, my heart is filled with joy. So coming back to the story, the demigod said to Rishi Dadichi that must you die so that we can get your bones and kill the demon Vrittasur. You see the tradition of Bharat Varsha that this saint, for the sake of demons, discards his body, and from the bones of his body, the demigod goes on to prepare a weapon to kill the demon Vrittasur. Dear devotees, such huge sacrifice by these saints, the songs of praise of these saints is sung by Lord himself.
ये अक्षय तृतीया तिथि है ना, बहुत बड़ी तिथि जिस पर हमारी कथा हुई. तो इस अक्षय तृतीया तिथि में अनेक भक्तों ने अपना योगदान दिया. अनेक
We are just in the mood of Akshay Tritiya, where we saw a lot of devotees went on to offer huge offerings to Vaishnav Seva. I offer all my acknowledgements to each one of you who have contributed immensely, particularly the two Vaishnavas who have taken upon the responsibility of offering services to Gaumata throughout their lives. Nilesh Bhai from Tennessee, US, and the family of Sanjay Bhai Patel, who have gone on to adopt a young cow at Gaushala. All glories to these devotees who have taken up the responsibility to serve this cow for the lifetime. Dear devotees, you have done this commendable task, and I give this name to cow as Gauri. All glories to Gauri Maya. I also want to extend my acknowledgement to Tejas Patel, and I apologize. The cow adopted by Tejas Patel is Gauri, and Nilesh Bhai had adopted the cow which is called as Anjali. These two families have adopted these two cows for their lifetimes. So the demigods approached Rishi Dadichi and they wanted the bones of Rishi Dadichi. The Rishi Dadichi agreed and offered his bones, and Indra made Vajra out of the bones of Rishi Dadichi. Now, still there were certain bones which were left after the Vajra was made. First was Pinak, Gandhi, and the third bow being Sarang. But still there were certain bones left. Now, Lord Shiva went on to keep these bones with him. Now imagine, Lord Krishna has taken incarnation in Dwapar Yuga, and all the demigods are going to wish to have darshans of Lord with presence. Sri Shiva was contemplating that I have certain bones left with me. Let me make the powder of the bones of Rishi Dadichi which are left with me. And he made a flute out of the powder of these bones of Rishi Dadichi and offered this flute to Lord Krishna as a present in Vraj. And it is from this day, Lord Krishna went on to have this flute with him. In this manner, Lord Shiva offered this flute to Lord Krishna, which was made of the bones of Rishi Dadichi. I want to take your attention towards a shloka of one of the Purans. See, I want to illustrate it with the reference of a Puran shloka which is there at the bottom of your screens. Sri Vedvyas Muni went on to write 108 Upanishads. Amongst those 108 Upanishads, there is one Upanishad which is called as Krishna Upanishad. So there are many Upanishads like Katha Upanishad, Kena Upanishad, etc. And one amongst them is Krishna Upanishad. Now, this Krishna Upanishad goes on to mention that as Lord Shri Krishna was appearing on this earth, all the demigods got associated in the service of the Lord. All these demigods went on to take some particular forms to serve Lord Shri Krishna. So, in one of the shlokas, it is said something like this, which is there at the bottom of your screens.
Gokulam Van Vaikuntham.
So the shloka goes something like this: Gokulam Van Vaikuntham. So the spiritual world went on to become Gokul. So Gokulam Van Vaikuntham. Vaikunt went on to become Gokul Van. The meditating sadhus went on to become the trees of Vrindavan. In other words, if you go to Vrindavan and the trees that you look at, then how must you interpret the trees of Vrindavan? They are the meditating, financing rishis and munis. You see, the trees of Vrindavan are no ordinary trees. They are actually the rishis and munis. Further, the shloka goes like this. All the anger and the temptation went on to become the Daityas, the Asurs. So a very beautiful principle that gets enshrined over here, which has been written by Vyasji, is that the temptation and anger went on to appear in the form of Daityas in Vrindavan, and all these Daityas were killed by Shri Krishna. Now, as Shri Krishna is not here in the present times, so just in case if we encounter temptations and anger, then what do we do? So just in case we get on to be attacked by anger and temptation, then what do we do? So the shloka goes on to say, if we encounter temptation and anger, we can go on to exterminate anger and temptation by the holy name of Sri Krishna. Just as Sri Krishna killed these demons, we can also go on to kill on these demons by the holy names of the Lord. So we were talking about who went on to take which form as Sri Krishna took incarnation in the upper yuga. So the shloka goes on to say, so the Vedas have the riches, means the verses. So the verses of Vedas went on to become gopis and cows in Vrindavan. And the one who sits on the lotus, that is Brahmaji. So Lord Brahma went on to become Lakuti of Sri Krishna. You see, there is huge description. I won't elaborate long. Now, that is the reason I have presented two shlokas, but the most important thing is the last line. So the meditating saints became the trees, the verses became the gopis and the cows. So the second line says, who went on to become flute? It is Lord Shiva. Devadidev Mahadev himself went on to become the flute for Sri Krishna. So if you are a flute player, you see there is Shiv Vanshi, which is available in the market. So the point that I want to get across is Lord Shiva himself is the flute.
सिंह बन गए कृष्ण सिंह बजाते ना कभी कभी कृष्ण तो
Devraj went on to become Singh, which is played by Sri Krishna sometimes.
अच्छा एक पॉइंट और देख लीजिएगा मैं आपको जो दिखाऊं वंशी कौन बने हैं
So who has become flute? It is Rudra, that is Lord Shiva. So the word, the term Shiv is not used here. It is Rudra which is used. Now what could have been the significance or what could have been the meaning for using the term Rudra instead of Shiv? So what is Rudra? The term Rudra means which goes on to kill all the diseases is Rudra. Now the term Rudra here is used in the sense of removing all the diseases.
तो मैं रुद्र शब्द के ऊपर बोल रहा हूं जो वंशी का रूप धारण किया है अच्छा तो रुद्र माने रोगों को मिटाने वाला और वही वंशी बना है तो इसका अर्थ ये हुआ कि यदि कोई वंशी के बारे में सुनता है या यदि कोई वंशी को सुनता है तो उनका भी सारा रोग मिट जाता है
So what does this signify? That anyone who listens to the melody of Sri Krishna's flute, all the diseases of his body shall be exterminated. So this all signify that the melody of flute goes on to remove all the diseases of the body. Now, please try to understand the diseases here. What is the meaning of the diseases mentioned over here? In this world, the biggest disease for each one of us is ignorance. Ignorance is the biggest disease. So ignorance is not just a disease, it's the biggest disease. It's a Maharog, big disease. Because ignorance is the root cause of all problems, of all issues. If you were to develop deeply, then the problem, the root problem of all the problem is ignorance.
अविद्या, जब किसी जीव के अंदर अविद्या आती है,
When an individual,
अविद्या से
when an
कामना
entity,
उत्पन्न होती है, अविद्या से
when an entity is ignorant, it
और जब
leads to
कामना उत्पन्न
desire,
होती है, उस
it
कामना को
leads
जब
to
हम पूरा
kamna.
करने चलते हैं तो पाप होता है।
So when that entity goes on
ये
to
विद्या
fulfill
विचार ना
his,
हो,
his
पाप
desire, his kamna, he ends up committing
अविद्या से
sin.
कामना होती है और
So
कामना से
ignorance
पाप
leads to
होता है,
desire, desire
उसका
leads to
परिणाम
sin.
क्या है?
And what is the end of sin?
तो
It
दुख का
is
कारण है पाप,
dukh.
पाप का कारण है कामना, डिजायर, और कामना का कारण है अविद्या।
So the root cause is
अविद्या को महारोग कहा
ignorance.
गया है।
And hence ignorance is called as one
इस
big
महारोग
disease.
को मिटाने में समर्थ है रुद्र, महारोगों को
This
मिटाने में
ignorance
समर्थ
can be
है
exterminated by
रुद्र।
Rudra.
वह रुद्र आज
And the
वंशीकरण
same
में
Rudra
हो चुके हैं।
has appeared in the form of Vanshi. If we listen to the melody of Vanshi, if we listen to Venu Gita, then this ignorance can be exterminated.
रूप रुद्र जीवों के प्रपंच की विस्मृति कराकर कृष्ण के अधरामृत का संयोग करा देता है। वेणु रुद्र की तरह हमारे
This flute, just like Lord Shiva, goes on to
जैसे रुद्र
serve
नाशक है,
our soul, our Atma.
भगवान रुद्र ने क्या किया?
So what did Lord Shiva do? He went on to kill Kamdev.
समाधि तोड़ने के लिए उड़ा दिया कामदेव को। तो जैसे रुद्र
So just as Lord Shiva went on to destroy Kam, similarly that Vanshi,
काम को मिटा दिया,
Vanshi which is nothing but Lord Shiva personified. So similarly, this Venu, this flute, this Venu Gita
में आसक्ति पैदा करा देती है।
goes on to help you develop obsession towards Lord instead of material things. So we talked about two incarnations. One, Devi Saraswati, who goes on to appear in the form of this flute. Second, Lord Shiva, who prepares the flute by his own hands with the bones of Rishi Dadichi. And another version is that by the version of Krishna Upanishad, Lord Shiva himself goes on to become the flute. The third incarnation of the flute of Shri Krishna is that Shri Krishna himself transforms himself into a flute. That is Chidananda Swarup. So Saraswati being first, second is Rudra, third one is. Now, if we were to elaborate a little further, this material body of ours is made by 5 elements, is composed of 5 elements, and this material body goes on to destroy, and this is, you see, the soul goes on to pass from one body to another. This has what has been explained by Lord Krishna in Bhagvat Gita. Just as we keep on discarding the clothes day by day, similarly the soul goes on to discard one body and goes on to enter the other. I'm very sure each one of you sitting over here are very exalted devotees, and this is your last birth, and shall you certainly attain Golok Dham.
जो जो वैकुंठ में जाएंगे उन सब का यहाँ दर्शन हो रहा है। मतलब मैं तो जाऊंगा ही नहीं ना, मुझे तो ये नरक में ही भेजेंगे।
I believe all those who are before you on the screen should certainly reach Vaikunt.
तो जब भगवान की प्राप्ति होती है, शर्मा जी आजकल ढीले हैं, तो जब भगवान की जीव को प्राप्ति हो जाती है,
So as the entity, material entity attains Lord, the entity abandons the material body and goes on to attain divine body, divine form. So you see, if you don't take a bath for 12 hours, the body starts smelling, stinking. You see, this body has all bad things in it. But once you attain the Lord, then you abandon this Jad Swarup, Jad body, and what you attain is Chidananda Swarup, Chidananda form. Just as Lord is Sat Chit Anand, so Lord goes on to transform you as Chinmay and Sat Chit Anand. In the abode of Lord, must you pay attention here? In the abode of Lord, there is not a thing which is Jad. There is no thing which is made of or composed of 5 elements. Apparently, it might appear that this is a material object, but the fact is, every single thing found in the abode of Lord is divine, is Chinmay, is eternal. Now, if you recall Damodar Leela in the month of Kartik, when Yashoda Maya was offering milk to Sri Krishna, the milk which is on the stove was thinking that I am meditating so much, I am burning, that Sri Krishna would consume me. But now Sri Krishna is feeding himself on the milk of Yashoda Maya. So if Sri Krishna does not want to have me, it's better that I die out. If my life is not able to serve Sri Krishna, there is no meaning or significance of my life. Now this milk attempted to commit suicide. The point that I want to get across is that in the abode of Lord, even the milk is Chinmay, it is eternal. यशोदा मैया जब कृष्ण के पीछे दौड़ी या कृष्ण के लिए वो माखन बना रही थी तो यशोदा के बाल में मालती के फूल थे, सारे फूल नीचे गिर गए. Now if you recall, as Yashoda Maya was churning the milk for Shri Krishna, the flowers at the head, on the head of Yashoda Maya started thinking that Yashoda Maya is offering services to Shri Krishna, and because she is serving Lord Shri Krishna, how can we be sitting on the head of Yashoda Maya? We must be sitting at the lotus feet of such a devotee who is serving Lord Shri Krishna. So the point that I want to get across is everything in the abode of Lord is Chinmay, is eternal. This particularly is the reason that when Brahmaji went on to describe in Brahma Samhita about the abode of Lord, so Lord Brahma goes on to say something like this, which is there on the top right hand side of your screens. Shri परम पुरुष कल्पतरवो द्रुमा भूमिश्चिन्तामणि गणमयी तोयममृतं कथा गानं नाट्यं गमनपि वंशी वंशी वंशी. कैसेट चौंट नहीं गई है, मैं आपको याद करा रहा हूँ, दिखा रहा हूँ. वंशी प्रिय सखी
चिदानंदम ज्योति परमपि तदास्वाद अपि अपि चह। ब्रह्मा जी ब्रह्म संहिता में कहते हैं कि गौलोक धाम में क्या, भगवान के धाम
And
में
Brahma
क्या?
Ji goes on to say in Brahma Samhita, what is found in the abode of Lord. So Lord Brahma says,
कांता माने परम लक्ष्मी स्वरूपा भगवान श्री कृष्ण की प्रेयसी,
the beloved of Sri Krishna,
भगवान श्री
Braj
कृष्ण
Sundari.
प्रियाए हैं,
Lakshmi is the beloved of Sri Krishna,
परम पुरुष है, वहां पर एक ही पुरुष है,
and that there is just one Purush,
पुरुष माने ब्रह्मा जी गोलोक की
that is Sri Krishna.
कितने दिन बाकी है?
So in Golok there is just one Purush, which is Lord Sri Krishna. I'm very confident each one of you shall make an entry there. That's the reason I want to describe all this.
और क्या है? कल्पतरवो,
Further, what is found in Golok Vrindavan?
वहां के वृक्ष सबको सब कुछ देने में समर्थ है,
The trees of Golok Vrindavan
बिजनेस जॉब कुछ नहीं,
are all potent, are all capable to offer you anything that you desire. So you stand under the desire tree, the kalp tree, and you get whatever you want.
वहां गोलोक की भूमि चिंतामणि अर्थात तेजोमयी
The land of Golok Vrindavan
देने वाली,
is all capable to offer you whatever you desire.
क्योंकि वहां पानी फिल्टर मिलता है,
Now, if you were to ask me, do you get filtered RO water in Golok Vrindavan?
बोतल साथ में रखते हैं। सो तोयम अमृतम, गौलोक में तोय जल कैसा है? अमृत के समान
So the water
टेस्टी,
in Golok Vrindavan is just like elixir, is just like nectar.
धंधा क्या है?
So Brahmaji goes on to describe further what activity goes on in Golok Vrindavan. There are only two activities, Katha and singing of songs.
जैसा कोई जगह नहीं है,
You see, if you enjoy Kathas
कीर्तन करो
and Kirtan and dancing,
सब मिल ही जाता है, खाना
must you go to Brij Vrindavan.
मिलता है, मजा मजा।
The water is just like nectar. Whatever you desire, you get standing under a tree.
नाट्यम कथा
Further, what happens in Golok Vrindavan?
तो वहां पर और क्या है? और नाट्यम माने नाट्य मनोरंजन,
There is full entertainment.
होती है,
There are full pastimes, leelas of Sri Krishna.
लोग करते हैं। मुझे जो आपको पॉइंट कहना है,
The point that I want to get across is
प्रिय सखी ही,
Vanshi Priya Sakhi.
सबका प्रिय करने वाली है।
So Vanshi, the flute,
तुमने हम
goes on to do
क्योंकि हम तो
favors
रोना नहीं आता है,
and desires of everybody out there.
ऐसे कहता हूँ कि गोलोक आप चले गए, फिर
Now, if I was to tell you,
प्रॉब्लम हो जाए,
just in case if you reach Vrindavan, Golok Vrindavan, and that you have some issue,
तो ब्रह्मा
so
जी
who would you cry before?
वहां पर हमारा प्रिय करने वाली हमारी अपनी
So Brahmaji goes on to say,
माथा रखकर रो सकते हैं,
it is this Vanshi who is your best friend, and you can weep at the shoulder of this best friend, which is Vanshi.
सो वंशी प्रिय
So, dear devotees, must you establish a relationship with the flute? Now, if the question is how Vanshi looks like,
चिदानंद है, उसका उत्तर आ गया।
now if you recall what was the fourth incarnation of Vanshi, that is Chidanand. So Brahmaji goes on to describe Vanshi, that Vanshi is like Chidanand.
नहीं है,
It is not made of wood.
वस्तु से बनी हुई
It is not made of any material thing.
चिदानंद, अब इसको भी
Vanshi of the flute is Chidanand.
चित और आनंद से बनी हुई वंशी है,
Vanshi is made of Chit and Anand.
माने एग्जिस्टेंस, चित ज्ञान
Chit means existence, full of knowledge, full of pleasure, full of Anand. It is the form of Lord Krishna.
कृष्ण की लीला का जो सृष्टि है वो सब चिदानंदमयी है, उत्कृष्ट है
So it is highly exalted, elevated,
और रसास्पद
and
है,
eternal.
परम सुंदर रस प्रदान करने वाली है।
And it offers very beautiful experience and bliss.
टोटल 3 अवतार हुए।
So, 3 incarnations of Vanshi.
वेणु गीत की ओर हम आगे बढ़े। गोपिया
The 4th incarnation of flute is that we shall discuss now. The 4th incarnation of Vanshi is Yogmaya.
रुद्रवंशी बने।
So, Saraswati, Rudra, Krishna himself with Chit Sarup became flute, and the 4th one being Yogmaya.
गीत सुना होगा कभी, ये सब सुना आपने? हैं? कितनी बार कृष्ण को वेणु दर्शन किया होगा, कृष्ण को
You must have taken the darshans of Lord Krishna playing the flute, but did you ever encounter such kind of knowledge?
के इस गुह्य रहस्य का ज्ञान होता है।
So it is Shrimad Bhagavatam which helps us to discover such knowledge. So the 4th incarnation of a flute is Yogmaya.
भगवान की माया 2 प्रकार की होती है।
So the Maya of Lord are of 2 types. One is Mahamaya, the other one being Yogmaya.
महामाया, महामाया में जो माया है उसका अर्थ क्या है?
So what is Mahamaya? So the term Mahamaya,
माँ का अर्थ
so in Sanskrit, Ma means no.
और या माने है,
Ya means hair, which is it
या
exists.
माने है। सो माया माने जो नहीं है,
So Maya means something that doesn't exist.
वो माया है।
To be considered that it exists is Maya.
सिंपल।
So Maya means
नहीं होती, फिर
something
कहना कि ये है,
which does not exist, but if you still go on to believe that it exists.
ये संसार
For example,
नित्य नहीं है।
this world is not eternal. We are not mortal.
वस्तु और संबंध नित्य नहीं है, फिर
We are not.
को नित्य मान लेना ये माया है। आप कहोगे हम तो नित्य नहीं
So the
मानते,
world
काम
is
तो
not
यही है,
eternal,
बस आप तो
but still we believe
होने वाले हो।
that
कितना तैयारी लोग
the world is
खाने, पीने, रहने, पैसा,
eternal, and that is the reason that they conduct their activities, that this world will never be destroyed. So much of work, bank balance, security, houses.
उसको है करके मानना।
So the belief that something that does not exist, but still you believe that it exists. Now, for example,
पानी पानी जैसा लगता
when we drive in summers, it appears to us that there is some water, what is called as mirage.
पानी जैसा ऐसा,
So there is no water, but we get to have the belief that there is water. So this is nothing but Maya.
लेकिन फिर भी हमको नित्य लगे तो वो माया।
So the material world is not eternal, but still we want to believe that it is eternal.
जो संसार के जीव को, खास करके मनुष्य को मोह में फंसा कर
So Mahamaya actually goes on to entangle the material beings of this material world and goes on to develop obsession into the material beings towards material thing. This is Mahamaya.
भगवान की बहिरंगा शक्ति है।
So Mahamaya is Bahiranga Shakti, Bahiranga potency of Shri Krishna, and Yogmaya is internal potency of Lord Shri Krishna.
क्या करती है?
What does Yogmaya do?
का गुण है योग माया, जो संसार के जीव को भगवान से योग कराती है।
Yogmaya's job is
जो संसार के
to
जीव
get the material beings closer
कृष्ण से
to Lord Shri Krishna.
तो ये बंसरी क्या करती है? ये
So what does this flute do?
रास लीला आदि प्रसंगों में
This Yogmaya.
मुरली ने ही भक्त को भगवान से मिलाया।
So this Yogmaya, actually what happens is, in the Ras Leela, it is this flute which brought the devotees closer to Lord Shri Krishna.
जब भक्तों से मिलना हुआ तो योग माया जैसी मुरली कृष्ण ने हाथ में ली, बजाई।
So when Lord Shri Krishna wanted to meet his devotees, Lord Shri Krishna played the flute.
से योग कराती है,
So Yogmaya
क्योंकि ये बांसुरी भी
makes the union possible of the Lord and the devotees. So if we listen to Venu Gate, we are able to reach the Lord. So this was another glory of the flute of Lord Krishna. Before we move on to listen to the glory of Venu Gate, there have been many devotees who offered their services and contribution on occasion of Akshaya Tritiya. Let us see a glimpse of that.
Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Jai Go Mata Jai Gopal Jai Go Mata
Jai Gopal
Jai Go Mata Jai Gopal
Jai Gopal Jai Gopal
Bhakta Vatsala Prabhu Deen Dayal
Bhakta Vatsala Prabhu Deena Dayal
Bhakta Vatsala दीन दयाल।
भक्तवत्सल प्रभु दीन दयाल।
जय गौ माता जय गोपाल, जय गौ माता
जय गोपाल।
जय जय श्री वृंदावन धाम।
जय जय श्री वृंदावन धाम।
जय गौ माता जय गोपाल,
जय गो माता जय गोपाल।
भक्त वत्सल प्रभु दीन दयाल।
भक्तवत्सल प्रभु दीन दयाल।
भक्त वत्सल प्रभु दीन दयाल।
भक्तवत्सल प्रभु दीन दयाल।
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna. So this was just a small glimpse. In fact, आपने इन सबसे बहुत ही ज्यादा अधिक ही सेवा की है। जो हमने दिखाया वो वास्तव में कुछ नहीं है, परंतु इससे अधिक ही सेवा है आप सबकी। तो जैसे प्रभु जी ने बताया कि जो सेवा करता है कितना ग्लोरियस है। प्रभु जी ने इनिशियली कथा में बताया कि सेवा करने वाला महान है। दधीची ऋषि के उदाहरण से प्रस्तुत किया। Thank you very much once again to our beloved Amrit Churcha family and all the well-wisher of Shri Radha Govind Goswami, those who have helped us, in making this festival wonderful. So thank you very much. Plus आप सबका सहयोग इसी प्रकार से अनिवार्य है, जिससे कि हम इस प्रकार के कार्यक्रम और अधिक कर सके और भगवान को तथा भगवान के प्रिय को, वैष्णव को और इसी प्रकार से उन्हें प्रसन्न कर सके, उनके आशीर्वाद प्राप्त कर सके। तो भक्ति में उन्नति करने के लिए कृपा बड़ी आवश्यक है। विदाउट कृपा वी कैन नॉट प्रोग्रेस दैट रैपिडली। वो कृपा कैसे मिलती है? सेवा से मिलती है। कैसी सेवा से? इसी प्रकार के वैष्णव की तथा गौ माता जो कि भगवान को अत्यंत प्रिय है, तो इनकी सेवा के माध्यम से वो कृपा प्राप्त होती है। तो आप सबसे अनुरोध है, जो आपने सेवा की है उसके लिए आप सबको बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। हम शब्दों में इतना उसको एलिब्रेट नहीं कर सकते या फिर इतना डिस्क्राइब नहीं कर सकते हैं, तो फिर भी जो भी आपका सहयोग रहा है हम उसके लिए आपके आभारी हैं, ऋणी हैं और इसी प्रकार से अपना सहयोग बनाए रखेगा। एंड थैंक यू सो मच फॉर दिस वंडरफुल सपोर्ट। एंड बहुत सुंदर हम कथा के माध्यम से जान रहे हैं कि किस प्रकार ये जो भगवान की वेणु, हम जो द्वितीय सत्र में श्रवण कर रहे हैं कि ये जो वेणु है उनका 4 प्रकार के अवतार में प्रभु जी ने आज वर्णन किया। तो धन्यवाद कि कैसे फर्स्ट इनकारनेशन ऑफ वेणु इज लाइक इट्स सरस्वती एंड देन रुद्र एंड देन चिदानंद स्वरूप जो कि भगवान स्वयं है, और उसके बाद योग माया जिनका हमने कुछ यहाँ पर वर्णन सुना है। तो बहुत ही सुंदर हम यहाँ पर भागवत कथा श्रवण कर रहे हैं और बहुत सुंदर सेवा का भी दर्शन कर रहे हैं आप सबके द्वारा जो यहाँ पर प्राप्त हुई है श्री राधा गोविंद गौशाला में और उन वैष्णव के प्रति। तो वंस अगेन वी आर वेरी ग्रेटफुल और आप सबसे यही निवेदन है कि आप अपना सहयोग इसी प्रकार से बनाए रखिएगा और साथ ही साथ बने रहिएगा, कथा श्रवण करते रहिएगा ऐसे ही, जिससे कि हम सब कथा सुन सके, वैष्णव सेवा कर सके और भगवत प्राप्ति कर सके। तो may I request His Grace Madhusudan Prabhu to kindly introduce our Kartik Yatra, which is supposed to be in this October, I guess. Yeah, it's in October only. So I just want to request Madhusudan Prabhu to kindly introduce it, because especially this yatra is going to be very grand, and we want to invite all our overseas well-wishers and devotees who aspire to join us in this yatra. उनके लिए विशेष यहाँ के लिए भक्तों के लिए तो ये है ही, परंतु उन भक्तों के लिए भी हम मुझे निवेदन करना चाहेंगे कि यदि आप भी हमारे साथ में जुड़ना चाहते हैं तो हमारे साथ में मधुसूदन प्रभु हैं, जो कि इस यात्रा में के भक्तों को यहाँ पर इनवाइट करेंगे। तो आई जस्ट रिक्वेस्ट मधुसूदन प्रभु काइंडली अनम्यूट योरसेल्फ। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Yes, Prabhuji, your mic is on now.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dhanvat Pranam. Can you hear me, Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhuji, we can.
Yes. So I just wanted to give everybody the upcoming, actually this is coming for the Kartik month parikrama, the Vraj parikrama. So we have already scheduled the parikrama. This is in the Vrindavan parikrama. We have 7 days for Vrindavan and 4 days for the Haridwar parikrama, starting from October 22nd to November 2nd. So this is the whole flyer we have for the parikrama. So can we go to the next page, Prabhuji? I wanted to give everybody that what are the places we're going and how long this parikrama going to be and everything I wanted to show. So we can go to the next page where the schedule is. Amit Narayan Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhuji, I guess Govind has these 2 pages available only right now. The rest information we can provide through the, I guess, WhatsApp or somewhere, or
Okay.
in the next session, I
Is
guess.
there any way I can share mine?
Oh, yes. Yeah, sure, Prabhuji.
Let me see. I can share the screen.
Please, Prabhu, go ahead. You can share.
Yes, 1 second. So let me share my screen. Make participant can share it simultaneously. 1 person. So it's not sharing. Let me go to that one, sharing. Okay. I'm trying to share my screen. Let me see if it works. Okay. And here in this, okay, right here. So this is the first page of the Vrindavan Parikrama. That's where he's saying that we have, this Parikrama going to be, we're going to have association with His Grace LalGovindDas Prabhu. And the next page is, this is for the Vrindavan. The next page is for the Haridwar. Happen. Stop share. Why? Okay. All right. So this is the page I wanted to show actually. I hope everybody can see that, but we are starting the parikrama. The day 1 is the October 22nd from Delhi airport. So this parikrama or this yatra, I should say, is going to start from the Delhi airport to coming back to the Delhi airport on the November 2nd. So the yatra has the bus service which will take you from the Delhi airport. So you have, everybody need to be at the Delhi airport on 22nd by 1 o'clock, 1 p.m. Once everybody there, whoever is joining this yatra, then the bus will pick up them from the Delhi airport and take them to the Vrindavan. And then that day, as the time allows, we will go to the places like the Iskcon Temple, Prem Mandir, Banki Bihariji Temple, and so on. And the real yatra will start on the October 23rd from the morning. It's so this yatra basically is 11 days total yatra we have. So 7 days in the Vrindavan. It finished at the 29th, and 29th it will check out from the Vrindavan and going to the Sukratal, which is in the Haridwar, on the towards the Haridwar. So then we're going to be in the Haridwar for 4 days, and I want to go a little bit lower. Amit Narayan Prabhu, can you make it to the bottom? Okay. And you can see that right now, the last day is the day 12. November 2nd, we will be checking out from the Haridwar and going towards the Delhi airport. So this whole yatra will be taken care of in that 12 days. And I would like to, inform everybody, and I wanted to give the schedule. And if anybody want any detail, I can forward them. But this yatra is going to be very, interacting yatra, like one-on-one yatra. There are so many people going to join from America even, and all over the world. And I have already registered at least like 20 people already registered this yatra. So if anybody wants to join this yatra in the Kartik month, please contact either me or Amit Narayan Prabhu, and we will take care of all this, your bookings, and you don't have to do anything actually during the yatra. That is already fixed. We already have the hotel reserved. We already have the bus service reserved. We have the food and everything settlement already there. So it's going to be the breakfast, lunch, and dinner during the yatra and before and after the yatra. So you don't have to worry about anything starting from the Delhi airport, going to Vrindavan, and coming back to the Delhi airport. The whole thing will be taken care of this committee. So if anybody wants to join, please let us know, because we still have about 6 months. And I wanted to give this detail to everybody up ahead time. So anybody have to make the plan, or they wanted to, prepare for vacation or anything like that. So please let us know, and we can set you up into this, yatra. That is basically I wanted to show you. But all these places we're going, that will be confirmed, and it will be given to you later on exactly which location and how we're going every place. If there is anybody has the issue like that they cannot walk, किसी को अगर चलने में तकलीफ है, किसी को कोई हैंडीकैप है, तो उनके लिए भी बहुत सारी व्यवस्था है वहाँ पर. So nobody has to worry about if anybody has the issue with walking or anything like that. There are local transportation available, and even the local bus service is also available. So please let us know all this information, whatever you have, or any question you have, and we will take care of that. So please register as early as possible so we can make the arrangement accordingly. And anybody has the specific questions, you can always contact me. Amit Narayan Prabhu can provide my number to everybody, or is on the flyer also. So Amit Narayan Prabhu can send all these flyers to everybody and by email or whatever, and that way you have all the details. So that's pretty much I wanted to let people know that um, this is going to be very auspicious yatra, and there are so many people coming from the US and all over the world. So it's going to be very um, you know memorable yatra. So please let us know as soon as you can. Um, and we have this right now 40 to 50 room reserved in the hotel. So we try to keep everybody into the same hotel so we don't have to go to the different locations. That's why I'm asking everybody that please register your name, and whoever member is coming, जिसको भी आना है, please let us know as early as possible. And we have still 6 months, as I said. So ticket price is still reasonable. Before the ticket prices start to go, I'm talking about travel tickets from here to going to the India. It is still reasonable, and I don't want it to see last minute everybody has to make the reservation and the cost is so high. So anyway, that's all I wanted to give the update, and let us know as early as possible. All right, thank you, and I'm inviting everybody. Please join with this yatra and make this whole yatra very auspicious and successful. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
यदि सोने की होती जो ना जाने क्या करती, यदि सोने की होती जो ना जाने क्या करती, जब बास की हो कर यह हे श्याम तेरी बंसी पागल कर जाती है, हे श्याम तेरी बंसी पागल कर जाती है, मुस्कान तेरी मीठी घायल कर जाती है, मुस्कान तेरी मीठी घायल कर जाती है। अब ऐसी कथाओं में ऐसा ही मंगलाचरण,
You see, this is the kind of Mangalacharan we should have in these kind of kathas, which gives us immense pleasure. So very beautifully, Sukdev Goswami in the 10th canto, 21st chapter, in very few shlokas goes on to explain Venu Geet.
भगवान श्री कृष्ण वृंदारण्यम स्वपद रमणम स्वपद स्वतंत्र।
So the shloka goes something like this. On the top right hand side of your screens, Lord Shri Krishna, who walks on his own pace, who is all free, who is not bound by anyone.
वृंदारण्यम प्राविशत, वृंदावन में प्रवेश कर रहे हैं।
Such Shri Krishna is entering Vrindavan, and as he enters Shri Vrindavan, as he is entering Shri Vrindavan, he plays his flute. So what is his form as he plays the flute? He carries the peacock feather, and he is the superstar, the king of nuts. The flower of Kaner in his ears, he adorns the yellow cloth. Yesterday I missed out this point that he wears Vaijanti Mala, the necklace of Vaijanti around his neck. You see, Vaijanti Mala is of two types. One is of the gems, the other one is of flowers. And there are 5 kinds of flowers in Vaijanti Mala. Tulsi, Kund, Mandar, Parijat, Sariro, Prahi. So these 5 kind of flowers which is there in a garland is called as Vaijanti Mala, which is reflected in the shloka on the top right hand side of your screens. This is from the viewpoint of color and fragrance. With respect to the size of the garland, there are 5 kinds of garlands. Vaijanti is the garland which is till the waist. The garland to the knee is called as Govardhan Mala. The garland till the feet is called as one Mala. Fourth one is Bingun Mala. And the 5th one is Margaj Mala. Let me share something with you about the garlands. Sometimes it so happened that the gopis were extremely restricted. They were not able to meet Shyam Sundar. Now what would they do? The gopis had their all heart out to meet Shri Shyam Sundar, and they also had to fix the time to meet Shyam Sundar. But unfortunately, they were helpless. So certain gopis had some understanding with Shri Krishna in such a way that some gopis would prepare the garland of Shri Krishna, and they would have a coding in the garland that the 5th flower in the garland would be of the rose, which would indicate that at 5 o'clock they would meet Shri Krishna at a particular place. And in case they would want to meet Shri Krishna on the banks of Yamuna, and the lotus flower would be placed at the 6th position. And he would be required to meet the gopis at the Sarovar of Lotus. So this is called as Kamal Sarovar Mala. So adorning a very beautiful form, Lord Shri Krishna enters Braj Vrindavan. Sukdev Goswami further goes on to say, O King, in this manner Shri Krishna played the melody of the flute. The melody of the flute of Shri Krishna was of such a form which stole the hearts of each and every entity. And that is the reason I had been forced to sing this. Let us all sing this together.
पागल कर जाती है मुस्कान तेरी मीठी घायल कर जाती है गाओ हे श्याम तेरी बंसी पागल कर जाती है मुस्कान तेरी मीठी घायल कर जाती है यदि सोने की होती जो न जाने क्या करती जब बांस की हो कर ये दुनिया को नचाती है क्या कितना सुंदर शब्द है
It's such a beautiful word which is here. Had this flute being of gold, then what could have been able to do? When it is of bamboo, it is able to let the world dance to its tunes. Had it been of gold, then what else it could have been able to do?
और एक बहुत सुंदर पद आगे कहते हैं, तुम गोरे होते तो न जाने क्या करते, जब काले
Further,
रंग
in the next line, it is said, you have been able to mesmerize and steal the hearts of so many people in the world as you have dusky complexion. Had you been fairer, what would have been the case? Had you been fairer, then perhaps many people would have been beheading each other. Sometimes you are engaged in ras, while on the other, you play the tunes of the flute. Sometimes you engage in eating the butter. This is the thought which develops in your mind and heart.
हे श्याम तेरी बंसी पागल कर जाती है.
Oh Shyam, your flute make me go mad every time I hear you. Shri Sukdev Goswami goes on to say, Iti Veruram Rajan. In this manner, O king, Shri Krishna played the flute and stole the hearts of every single entity. But as the melody of this flute went into the ears of the Brij Gopis, so as the gopis of the Brij listened to the flute melody of Sri Krishna, they went absolutely mad in the love of Sri Krishna and started embracing each other. And as they were embracing each other, out of love of Sri Krishna, they started saying something like this. This is Venu Gita Shloka 1, which is there on the screens before you.
अक्षणवताम.
So the shloka goes something like this.
शयतो वयस्ये वक्त्रं व्रजेश सुतयो रनवेणु जुष्टम् येर्वा निपितमनु रक्तकटाक्षमोक्षम्. આ બધું સસ્તામાં પતે છે, મને આની માટે સમય જોઈએ.
So the shloka which is there at the bottom of your screen is the first shloka of Venu Gita. Every single word of the shloka is exemplary, astounding. As the gopis listen to the melody of Shri Krishna, they go on to address each other. The ears that we have been, the eyes that we have been blessed with.
ये जो कृष्ण बांसुरी बजा रहे हैं और अपने मित्रों के साथ जो वन में प्रवेश कर रहे हैं,
So as Shri Krishna, who enters Vrindavan with his friends, those who have been blessed with the eyes, the biggest benefit, the biggest prasad, if anyone who gets to have, having been blessed with these eyes, is the darshans of Shri Krishna. So gopis are trying to say, in case if you want to engage your eyes in seeing the topmost object is having darshans of Shri Krishna. If you want to make the utmost use of your eyes is to have darshans of Shri Krishna.
ये जो आंख मिली है, आंख वालों के लिए कृष्ण की इस छवि का जो दर्शन है, ऐसा दर्शन और कोई हो ही नहीं सकता। और केवल मैं तो आंखों की बात ना करूं, मैं तो प्रत्येक
There can be no better sight than that of Shri Krishna of those who have the eyes.
आंखों का फल कृष्ण को देखना, कान मिला है तो कान का फल,
Because you have been bestowed and blessed with the ears, you should listen to Shri Krishna. If you have the voice, the biggest thing that you can do is to speak about the pastimes of Lord. The real fruit of Shri Krishna of your hand is to offer services to the Lord. If you have been blessed with this feet, the real fruit of you being blessed with this feet is to go to the Dham, Shri Vrindavan Dham.
का वास्तविक फल है, लाभ है। तो आंख होने का वास्तविक लाभ कृष्ण के इस छवि को, कौन सी छवि को? सख्य, पशुन।
So the utmost service that you can engage your eyes is to have darshans of the Lord. And which particular form? As Shri Krishna enters Vrindavan along with his friends and the Govanshis. The next line goes something like this, that as Shri Krishna enters Vrindavan and he plays the melody on his flute, and as he plays the melody in his flute, he looks with his inclined eyes. So as Shri Krishna goes on to play the flute, as he walks by the street, and that there is a gopi, and the gopi is all completely mesmerized. She loses all her heart and mind.
करके मोरली मंद बजाइयो ना, मोरली मंद बजाइयो ना। मैं क्या व्याख्या करूं?
What explanation do I offer you, dear devotees?
मैं आपको लेकर जाऊं।
Let me take you to the first word of the shloka. I actually find myself helpless. What do I explain you? Such beautiful is the meaning embedded. Akshanavatam means to look through the eyes. So gopis have started by looking from the eyes. There are 10 steps to beget the love of Shri Krishna. So as the love towards Shri Krishna begins, so there are certain indications and phases in the life of the devotee. And the first step is Chakshu Priti. Even in this material world, love begins with eyes, isn't it? As the eyes meet, the love begins. Aksharvatam means gopis are undergoing the first step of love. So the 10 steps of love towards Krishna is Chakshu Priti, which is the first step. and then love through the eyes. The next step being
मनः संग,
manah sanga.
फिर मन में संगति हो जाना. आंखों
So
को
the second
आंख
step
से
is company in the heart.
उनके ख्याल, उनके विचार.
The thoughts are bound by Shri Krishna. That is the second step.
तो कभी प्रेम में पड़े होंगे.
I'm sure you all have some experience of love. As you fall in love, first is the love of sight, and then you get enmeshed with the thoughts of such a person. No hunger, no thirst. Day in and day out, you are in the thoughts of such a person. So imagine if the ordinary material world's love takes you to this stage. Imagine what would be your situation when you fall in love with Almighty Shri Krishna. So Chakshu Priti and then Manasanga is the second step. The third step is Sankalp Utpatti.
फिर मन संग होता है, फिर संकल्प होते हैं कि अब प्रपोज कर दूंगा.
Then is
अब
Sankalp.
जब बस स्टॉप पर मिलेगी, हैं? तो ये संकल्प.
So the third
ये बहुत
step,
धरातल
you see,
हद तक देखा जाता है, लेकिन वहाँ अंततः तो काम वासना में ही.
I apologize, there is some
लेकिन ये तो विशुद्ध प्रेम है. संकल्प उत्पत्ति भगवत मन में
Sankalp Utpatti.
संकल्प, मैं ये करूंगा, ये नहीं करूंगा. भक्ति
Sankalp Utpatti means that I shall
फिर जो
commit
मुझे पता है,
this and I shall avoid this. Then the fourth step is Nidra Chedan.
मुझे चैन ना आए. निद्रा छे, नींद नहीं आती.
I have lost my sleep, I have lost my calm. So the sleep goes on for a toss. And the fourth step,
कृष्ण की याद आती.
one goes on to change sides throughout the night. And one gets to pine for Shri Krishna most of the time. The fifth step is Tanuna Hilak, heat and warmth in the heart, and the body going pale. Unfortunately, you see, in the material world, people go on to gain weight with each passing day. You see, there is warmth in the body because of which body goes on to develop pale and weak and frail. The sixth stage, sixth step is Vishaya Virakti. Disassociation, disliking towards the worldly material things, and obsession towards the Lord. The seventh step is Lajja Pranash. In the seventh stage of love, you see, shame or consideration is lost. I want to elaborate upon it further, so I will stop here because there would be no sense talking shortly. Tomorrow we will elaborate. We will engage into discussing the glory of Venu Madhuri. We are running short of time, so we shall take this up tomorrow. So I extend my heartfelt thanks to each one of you who have been associated with this katha. And I also extend my warm thanks to the host family, Parmar family from Canada, Shri Suresh Parmarji, Jai Shri Parmarji. I also extend my heartfelt gratitude to all the contributors towards Akshaya Tritiya celebration at Gaushala, and also Nilesh Bhai and Sanjay Bhai, who have adopted the 2 cows at Gaushala, Tejas Patel and the family. So with this, let us bring a close to this session. Hare Krishna, Radhe Shyam.
तम महापुराण की श्री कृष्ण चंद्र भगवान की, जगत गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की।